when Monica Brings Yellow, one of your members, asked me to come on, I remember I did watch one of your presentations when Salisha Old Bull was on, maybe a couple years ago. Um, I started to think about my art practice, and she was thinking of all these other things that we were talking about. And then I was like, no, it's bead night. She was like, wow, mind blowing. You're right. It's bead night. So the reason I say it's bead night is that we don't just get together and bead. Um, the practice has expanded to we have people who are doing quill work, we have people who are tufting, we have people who are sewing, basket weaving, painting, writing poetry, um, oftentimes writing grants just because they need a buddy to keep them going on the computer. I mean, it just covers everything. It's really like I say all the time on my social media, come to Indigenous Art Night. And it's not even just Native people. We've had non-Native, friends stop in a lot. Sometimes I think we scare them away because we're kind of like crazy girls. I don't know. And we have a lot of men too. We have a lot of men. We have group members that are in the Southwest, in the Southeast, the Northeast, all the way to Vancouver. At one point, we had someone in every time zone, from the Pacific time zone to what's the far one in Canada? Not Nova Scotia. What is it? Jordan. So far away. It's
Yeah, the
the
Atlantic
Atlantic.
time zone.
No, past the Atlantic. Is that at one? It's like 3.5 hours ahead of us, you guys. It's just crazy. So anyway, Salisha was the one who noticed that. We have people all across Canada, which is great. So what that means is that you're learning from Newfoundland. Thank you, Adele, Newfoundland. So we are meeting other tribal members, and that's just so inspiring to end up we hear about each other's ceremonies, about each other's festivals, maybe the art they're making in connection to that, and you learn a lot about each other's tribes, over the years, because we're now at like 5 years. So I going back to the beginning, so in like 2018, I realized people were always coming into my booth at shows, and they would say, oh, I don't have time to get things done, I never make the time to get my child's outfit done, or I'm working on this Oak-tooth dress but I'm all alone. And even pre-COVID, times could be isolating if you have little ones and you're trying to keep them at home, and things are kind of crazy. If y'all meet at a church, sometimes I know a lot of people do that, it works for them, they meet somewhere public, but it is tough when you have a whole bunch of little ones, or if you're taking care of an elderly person, which is, pretty common. So I thought, well, maybe we could do this rock your beads night thing. And that was what we came up with. And it was a little clunky because people had to follow, become my friend on my personal Facebook. And then I would call them for a video group meeting on Messenger. And I think sometimes people were, you're asking total strangers, do you want to be my Facebook friend? It maybe seemed scammy. I don't know. So, but we did that for about a year and a half, sort of died off. And we had about 7 or 8 ladies. One of them so special she was actually from Whitehorse, but she was living in Vancouver, and she passed away in the last like year and a half, and that was sad. But um, anyway, we we actually it just fizzled. But then the minute the pandemic hit, it seemed like, oh my gosh, this is a good idea again. And I started seeing beading circles advertised, on Instagram and social and Facebook. And so we did one right away on March 20th. The first meeting was actually at my mom's house in Spokane. So we were mobile already. I went over there to take care of her. I was so afraid she was going to get COVID. And then we figured out Zoom that next week. And I think Jordan, you and Adele that are on here right now, they were on the first one, and I met them on another beading circle. So that was really neat. Thanks for being here, ladies. And it just blossomed. That very first meeting, we had 11 people, and that's probably about what we average every week. We start at 6:30 and we go until everyone's tired, which sometimes last night was 12:30. Frequently it's later than that, or sometimes, hardly ever is it too much earlier than midnight, but it is sometimes. In the summer, people are busy. In the winter, people are down till 2 o'clock in the morning. Anyway, I think that if you think about it in your regular day-to-day life, do you spend that much time with another artist on a weekly basis? So when you're obviously going to learn more about their art, and when you're learning about other people's art, I think you're learning about your art. Thinking about like a circle, any circle in our life, it's a journey and we're learning, right? So while we're learning, we're telling our story, and we become better storytellers. And the more you're able to tell your story, the better artist you're going to be able to tell about your art. And I think that's a really important component of all of our art, is being able to tell people what it means to us and how we've developed it. So we've all become better storytellers. Part of that is that each time during our meeting, we do, if people like to, I say, oh, would you like to show us what you're working on? Not everybody wants to, not everybody has to. I do kind of ask people to always have their video on. I have like a pet peeve about people who don't turn their video on. We did have like a nonstop offender for like 3 years, but I don't know, we lost her, so that was okay. But I do like people to be actually visible. I think it's more comforting for everyone. It makes it more of a community. So I think these guys are like, they know I get mad. If somebody gets off after they didn't have their video on, we're all like, didn't have their video on. We get kind of picky. So let's see. Next slide. I just went to try and change the slide and I remembered. You guys, my internet's so bad. So um this is me in my habitat in my studio that I was able to build in 2022 with the encouragement of people on Bead Night to apply for grants, and encouragement that I said, can am I really an artist? Can I like have a studio? And everyone's like, yes, you can have a studio. You're an artist. You start to learn more about yourself when you have people supporting you and telling you to listen to yourself. Um, Next slide. So this is a picture of us. Oh my God, the offender. This must be an old picture. This is an old picture. I see the offender who never had her video on. Her Ferris wheel is on the corner of that Zoom thing right there. You can see. I just advertise this once a week. I try to put it on my story as well as my posts and try to kind of make it snappy. And we've changed the Zoom number a few times, but we try to keep it the same. It's easier for everybody to just hook it right up. And then we've changed the passcode out of jokes. For a while, it was moose, something moose. Like every once in a while, we change it as a joke, but we try not to do it too much because it's hard on everyone. And this is a busier night for everybody at once. A lot of people come on early and then they hop off because they have work the next day, or they're late because they had to get their kids to bed. So that it's kind of variable that way. Next slide. So 2020, we start doing the bead night, and I remember really vividly, I'm sure we all do, how the world just stopped, and it was terrible. I admit it was terrible, but I loved it. I would do it again in a heartbeat because I didn't have to go anywhere or do anything, just be. So these pictures are the first two larger scale pieces that I did in 2020. The hat is the first thing I started when I got home from my mom's, and it's funny because it's a pretty. It has four flowers going around it. It's a rolled brim. It takes a while, but it was actually a pretty quick project because I had nothing else to do. And so we open up the Zoom sometimes, even when it's not bead night. And I remember Wanagijik Bruce and I were on the Zoom for like a week while I finished that. The second item, and I think Jordan and Adele remember, I was the very last bit of this was the bottom piece. And this cradle board, it's a crow style cradle board because my grandson is half crow, his mama is crow. And I did the bottom piece last, and I finished the last bead when I was on another beading circle, but a lot of it was really done on our bead night, or our Zoom at different times during the day. And it was the largest single piece that I think I'd ever done. I would say I've done a lot of horse gear, but that was in size 10 beads, which are quicker, and this was size 11. So it really started to make me think about, I can do these larger scale pieces. At that same time, I had been talking to a gal from here named Nina Sanders. And she was like, "This bead night's real interesting. What are you doing?" And I told her, and she saw the cradle board. She said, "Boy, you should start doing these juried art shows." I was like, "Juried? Do it dirty. I'm not that girl." And I said, "Come on bead night and talk to us." So at that time, we did have two individuals who had done juried art shows. Della Big Hair Stump had been to the herd and had been invited to Santa Fe, but she hadn't gone. Santa Fe's during our Crow Fair, so we're not going to Santa Fe. Um, and she had done really well down there, Della had. And then Celicia Oldbull had done some juried art shows. So she talked us through probably an hour very generously, explaining how that works for artists, what is the benefit, what the best way is to tackle it, what the shows were she suggested that we apply to. And I think tackling it as a group, we were all like, yeah, let's do it. So, of course, being the pandemic in 2021, the herd was still not in person, but Celicia and I both did the herd, and we just mailed our items. My item unfortunately got lost in the mail and did not get juried until the following year. But in 2022, there were five of us at the herd. Five of us got in, and it's a pretty tough show to get into. I mean, I've applied since then and not gotten in, so it's not, easy. And then we started to think about what other shows. We started talking even more about what bigger projects we could do. And it's not like it's a group project, but when you can turn to someone and say, I was thinking of doing this, they can say, "Oh, I've already seen like four of those," or what about this? Or have you seen this Instagram page? Look at what they're doing. And it's so helpful. I mean, art, it can be a very isolating profession, right? Because you're either in a little room in your house, or if you're spoiled, you're in a studio. You're still spending a good deal of your time working alone. And while I love that, I like my, downtime, and I get more work done in ways. I think that for all of our mental health, this has also been a really great thing. And certainly for me to kind of keep me looking forward, because we're all looking forward after the herd. Then we're thinking about the idle jorg. And then, starting last year, now we're thinking about the Cherokee art market. So It's a big deal, I think. We've had other speakers. We've had speakers come on and talk to us about different mental health issues. We had somebody come and talk about depression in the holidays before Christmas. My daughter-in-law is a therapist, so we're always making her like come on, and then I like shoot her $25 or something. Would probably be way more than that, but um it's great to have that. In addition, we've had people come on and talk about specifically their art or a business. We've had business people come on. I don't know, you guys, if you remember the big thing last year about the Arts and Crafts Act, how that was going to be changing. We actually had an individual who was the second in command working on that, because he happens to be Crow, and some representatives from Senator Tester's office come on and talk to us about that process and how we could get involved and get our opinions on record. So, if I hear about something going on, it's not like we organize a speaker at all, but if I hear about things going on, I'm real quick to ask folks if they'll join us. Last week, actually, we had a reporter come on from America Indian Calling, America, can't remember the name of that podcast that it's so popular. He came on because he wanted to know how we were all dealing with Joanna Fabrics closing. And he did a little story on that. And that was actually another artist that messaged me and said, can we invite him to come on? I was like, yeah, definitely come on. And also, we had somebody come on and talk to us about filling out applications for bald eagle feathers, which is totally unrelated, except for your family art. It's not art you're going to sell. But if we're making art for our family and we want to get feathers, sometimes it seems complicated how you get on there and get all that done. Well, I asked folks, is that something anybody would be interested in? Yeah. So we came on, we had a little PowerPoint, it had all the links, and people signed up to get their bald eagle feathers. So it expands, it's further than you would think. I would say that it's not just me. I know it's not just me. I know it's helped everyone. So, next slide. One of the other thing that's happened is that we started 2 years ago a our own website, and we have an Instagram page, and we have an art show. So I wrote a grant to Montana Arts Council. They have these mini $1,000 grants you can kind of get at the beginning of the year. And we used that to pay for the website the first time. And then we used it to buy everyone a small light box so that they could take better pictures of their work. So it's an online exhibit. Check it out. Feel free. Everybody is already talking about what they're planning on entering for this coming year. I think the first year we were in February, and now this year we're going to be probably in April. Last year was March. So we're not real worried about it, but everybody starts talking about it. And it's just an opportunity for people to show, say Alicia Oldbold got stuck in Canada and she was still able to show her work on this show. And she was featured in a magazine. So it is a thing. It's kind of crazy, but it is a thing. I do have in mind that at one of these years, I would like it to be in person and we could all get together, but I don't know. I don't know if that'll happen. I have had a few different museums offer to do it or galleries, but I'm not sure they're the right fit for us. And I want to have it funded so that the art can be shipped for free and shipped back for free. And I don't want anybody to incur the expense. So this is really fun. This piece on the left is, this is crazy, but this is quill work, if you can believe it, like hair-sized quills. This is actually the top of a basket, and that piece in total is maybe 6 inches across, and you're only seeing a portion of the image. It's stunning. It's from Burl Tushkanig he's now in Ottawa, Canada. And the piece on the right is from Heron Hill Designs, and they are a couple who always work together. And I don't remember which one of them is the painter. I think Joey's the painter. So he painted this birch bark, and then they beaded it, and it's just a stunning piece. That's Heron Hill Designs. If you want to check them out on, they're in Michigan. If you want to check them out on Instagram, and that, I mean, the quality, the level of work that we have of people on bead night is crazy. It's stunning, and neither of these two individuals do juried shows or really take their work around. So that's, to me, just blows my mind. Next slide, please. Okay, this isn't the one that I thought it was. Hmm. So we'll go back to that story in a minute of all the things that we do. Um, so the fun thing about the studio is that some of the bead night people who are local can come and hang out. This is just me. I thought this was the last slide. This is the sign up on my highway that my brother put up. This is my grandson at the table hanging out. And so the studio is in my backyard. And I'm telling you guys, I never would have done this if I had not been on bead night. I never would have had the notion that I could do it, I don't think. Next slide. So, oh yeah. So my daughter-in-law did this, and I gave her my little bullets and we were out of order. So this is juried shows. I've been really blessed. Last year I took a second at Idle Jorg. This is my daughter's graduation gown. She graduated last year from Yale Law School. And so we beaded her gown up pretty good. And you cannot enter something unless you're willing to sell it. And so when actually another bead night circle member, she said, "What are you bringing?" I said, "I don't have anything. I've been too busy doing this kid's gown." And she said, "Oh man, just bring it. Just take it." I said, "Why? I don't know if I want to sell it. It's her graduation gown. Just put a real high price on it. You should enter it. It's so nice. People should see it." So I was like, "Oh my God." And so I said, "All right, let me check with my daughter." And my daughter right away said, "You should take it." I said, "All right." So I took it, and then I get a ribbon, which is crazy. And as soon as I get the ribbon, I call my daughter to tell her, and she said, "I think if someone offers to buy it, you should sell it if it's a museum." And I was like, "What?" And she said, "Yeah." I said, "I'll split the money with you." She was like, "No, you don't need to split the money with me." I said, "It's your gown." She said, "It's just going to sit in my closet. When am I going to wear this gown again? Never." So we were really fortunate. We got it was purchased from the Indianapolis Children's Museum, and they're going to be doing an exhibit on Native experiences in education. So sort of starting with the boarding school era and going through today how we've changed education to fit our needs. So they thought that really exemplified that moment, which it was fun to make. I think it has like 45 flowers on it. I can't remember, 48 or something crazy. And at the very bottom, it has olive branches because my daughter's wife is Armenian, and they're very concerned about what was happening with Palestine. So that was nice. And then on the right is a woman's work bag. So I have an antique woman's work bag in my studio that was a gift from my husband in maybe 2012 or 2013. And I love it so much. It's on regular brain tanned elk hide. It has some nice beading on it. I've always been inspired by it and thinking about what that must have been like to have this. And it's from like the 1880s, so we don't really, it's a little display stand. It's in a china cabinet. But thinking about, I'm like a mess carrying my stuff around. I have this like zip up makeup bag thing that someone gave me for free. So I thought, what was it like when they really carried things around and kept it nice? And I got the idea to make this little woman's work bag, but in addition to the bag, I would make the contents. So I took this last year to the Cherokee Indian Market, and I was blown away that I took second place because there was really nice work there. And I'm planning to take it to Idle Jorg. I'm going to add a few more components to it, but it has a needle case, a thread case, scissor case, and then a little bead bag, and it's cute as button. Next slide. And everybody was telling me what to do the whole time I was making it. I'm telling you guys, it's so fun to be on bead night. And literally, I just realized sitting on my desk, I wanted wooden spools for that, and I could not find them before Cherokee Market. And Ann Quisquist from Lawrence, Kansas, sent me 2 wooden spools to use with the woman's work bag. I'm going to take the thread off and put what I want for the bead bag on those wooden spools before we go to Idle Jorg. This is a little bit about my fashion. I kind of talked to you guys about how my, or maybe I didn't. My fashion, I think I just mentioned to you guys that it just came out of me doing my own fashion. I'm the 5th daughter of 11 children, and everything was made over. So that's what I started doing, and that developed my whole fashion notions. This is a group of young women from a program in Billings for girls that were struggling a little on the top left. And then on the right is my fave model, Della's daughter, Angela. She's so good. And my granddaughter holding one of my dolls. And then on the right, bottom right, is my first fashion show in 2018 at Native Fashion in the City in Denver during Denver March Powwow. Next slide. And then this is just examples of my beadwork. This hat was actually, the top piece was actually on a purse originally, and I didn't sell the purse. So then I took it off the purse and I put it on this hat. And we took this hat to a fashion show in Seattle at the Seattle Art Museum. And then a necklace set. I do a lot of necklace sets. The grad cap is from my daughter's bachelor's degree graduation from Yale. I have to say from Yale. I'm so proud of her. And it has the Yale logo on the front as well. And that, along with the gown from that graduation, are in the on view in the Little Shell case at the Yellowstone County Museum by the airport in Billings. And then that tie, I think that's one of the first ties that I did. It's just cute. I like ties. And next slide. And this is my dollies. They're just they're just so sweet. We love them. My point of the dolls was that everyone is making dolls that are they're buckskin, they've got like horse hair or beaded hair, and they look like they're wearing clothing from 1880s, and they're very precious, and they're obviously stunningly gorgeous, but I feel like they're not what a little girl's going to sit down and play with, or even an old lady isn't going to sit there and like play and fuss with her because they're so precious. And in a way, it was almost like we colonized our dolls. I felt like because we made them a porcelain doll up on the shelf that you couldn't touch or play with. And that wasn't how I grew up. And I started making dolls at a very young age. I found a pattern in the encyclopedia to make a doll out of a sock. So I went down to the rag basket and I found a sock. And I mean, I made so many dolls growing up. So I kind of forgot about that when I was older. And then probably in like the late 80s, I started making dolls for my different nieces and nephews and grandchildren. And we progressed into the Fierce One doll collection. Next slide. Okay, this is the one I thought was number 7. Hey. So one of the other opportunities that came for me with the bead night. So first thing was, going to these juried shows. Next thing, having mentorship from fellow artists, and the studio, obviously really important. But the thing it developed in the last year and a half was the amazing opportunity to participate in this residency with my friend Adele, who's on here. Thank you, Adele. Bless you, bless you. And actually a second residency, which is something I had never done before. This was an online residency, and it was amazing. It was amazing, and it had so many components that opened up stories from my family about our culture with dogs and using dogs. And it was something, a tuppy is a blanket that we would put on our dogs when we were traveling with them. We used sled dogs to haul mainly furs, but some supplies and occasionally people. And it was sort of a lost art because the government just began killing our dogs because they did not want us to have transportation, is the bottom line. So Adele took it upon herself that she had the same feelings I did, and we hadn't really talked about it. She found a woman who taught her how to make the teppies, and then she got a grant, several grants, to have an online apprenticeship. And I was super honored and grateful that I was one of the people. She only picked 5 artists, and she actually had a selection committee. And I applied for it and got the residency. And the blankets are now in Fort Smith in Canada on view, and they'll be going to Vancouver. They're booked. They're booked for a while. We're trying to get them down to Montana. I was the only stateside artist. Everyone else was in Canada. This is my sweet my son's neighbor dog, our sweet dog, but she looks about like what our sled dogs looked like. So we picked her, but she's a livestock dog, so she was very nervous. And this is my blanket. And the next step, I think, as an artist, if you're trying to be a full-time artist, is to start thinking about bigger programs, and residencies are definitely going to be a component in that, because you're talking about having time for long-term projects, but your time is being paid for, not just, at the end of the rainbow when you might sell that piece. You might not have to sell it, right? And in many cases, you can design your residency to fit your needs. So when you listen to these podcasts with the big time artists, they're all like, "Oh, I did a residency here, I did a residency there," and I was like, "Where does that happen? Like, how do you get to that?" So this was a unique opportunity. I hope it's not too unique. I hope we can keep doing these kinds of things, and I hope everyone in the group will start to. We're all talking about it. I got everybody to apply for at least one, I think, this year. And this was the first one though, and I always remember it for that. And then I'm so attached. I don't know how I've already had a couple people call and they want the blanket. And I'm like, no, it's busy. You can't have it. So I don't know. I would like to make a matching set, and I'm going to be doing a class with 5 people. We were supposed to start in January, but my daughter was studying for the bar, so we have to wait till now. We're going to start at the end of this month, my own class teaching folks down here how to make the tuppies. So I also did a residency at the tribal. the tribal, whatever the building is in Yellowstone Park. And we did capotes. It was super fun. And I'll be doing that again this year. We're going to be doing moss bags. Next slide. This is just my recent work. So I did this jacket for another artist. She's Cherokee National Treasure, Tracy Rabbit. She's amazing, gal pal. She wanted me to upcycle this jacket for her. I did that in January. And then I did this doctor's bag. I just finished that like 2 weeks ago, I think. I applied for the Trail of Tears art show with this bag. I did not get in, but that's fine. You can see on the dog blanket and on the bag, I have LST, which is Little Shell Tribe. I like to include that. And sometimes I include the number 574, which we were the 574th tribe to be federally recognized. And I think, is that the last slide, Danny? Or is there one more? I think that's it.
That's the last one. Sorry.
That's what I thought. So just to give you guys an idea what I'm up to. And so I'm going to be heading to Western Art Week next Wednesday. And then I'll be going to April off. Yay. I will be going to the Jackson Powwow on May 3rd. Second week or third week of May, I'll be teaching a moss bag class in Helena for a couple of days. And then at the end of May, my gal pal Della and Rebecca and Elisa and I are going to Paris for a trade to work on developing some accounts maybe in France. And then come June 6th, then we go to Idlejorg, I think like a week and a half later. We'll be in Indianapolis for the Idlejorg market, and then come home, and July's busy, and you know how it is. It all just kind of runs together. So anyhow, is there any questions from anyone?
Yeah, amazing, Carrie. Thanks for sharing. Your work is just incredible. And I personally was just really struck by the compulsion and strength of bringing community together to make. I mean, that's such a powerful thing to do. And, the accountability piece, the egging each other on to apply for the next thing.
Yes.
I mean, just all the different layers of it is so wonderful.
It is. You guys should come on beat night, hey? Wednesday nights, 6:30. Come hang out. We don't bite.
Monica mentioned, well, Monica, I see you right here, but you mentioned something about a call right now. Is it with Mamak here in town, or
I think it's like touring exhibitions that go to like Paris, Gibson, Mamak, and Missoula. I can't remember. I saw like a call for that tour, but I can't remember like what the acronym is.
It's MAGDA, Montana Art Gallery Directors Association. And actually, Alyssa, who runs that program, had signed up for this presentation. I don't see her on here right now, but I was thinking about that too. That it's really great. You have to do a presentation, like a PowerPoint presentation. Put your submission in. Oh, did you see the deadline on it, Monica? I think it may be June or something like that.
I didn't see the deadline because I don't pay attention to those.
Totally, but it's neat. And then those submissions go to their annual conference that takes place at Chico Hot Springs in October, beginning of October. So you get a little trip to Chico, and it's a fun way to meet different folks who are running institutions. And so then
do it, Carrie.
Yeah, neat. Yeah, and it's great. So then different museums can sign up for exhibits and say, I want to tour that. So yeah, worth looking into.
Yeah, we do. We have a messenger on Instagram, And
Great.
it has probably the top, I don't know what the limit is. It's like 25 or whatever people, sort of the top 25 people that participate the most often are on the messenger. And so we're always letting each other know about like these kinds of Monica's behind, obviously. We try to put the links on there or remind
Great.
each other of what's coming up or what you could do. And then I do try to remember on the last day to put in the messenger, hey guys, last day, have you done it yet? Come on, let's do it, get it done. Because it's so fun to be able to see each other in person, it's just great. I love it so
Yeah.
much. If I could take a minute, if we don't have questions, I would love it if I could point out Jordan Hendrick is on, and she is one of my first time being on Bead Night Gals, and met her on Adam Garnett Jones Bead Night. And she actually hosted an art show for her PhD last year in September that I participated in along with Crystal Lepsier, who's on the bottom here. And she's like an early Bead Night gal. She's hasn't been on as much lately. She's super busy with her kids, but she also has her PhD. She was working on while she was on Bead Night. I don't know how everybody can do this. And she actually is going to take the puppy class. Adele at the top corner there, she's actually the person who did the residency that I was so gifted to get to participate in. And Della is just my bestie. She's on here. And then Linda H, I'm pretty sure is Linda Herrera, who's another really long time supporter of Bead Night that lives in Minneapolis, that doesn't do art. Uh, uh, she's total artist. She doesn't do art for sales for the most part. She just works on powwow outfits for friends and family and herself.
Great. Great. Thanks for welcoming everybody
Yep.
in here, Carrie. And
Coming.
yeah, it's so great. Yeah, wonderful. And I see maybe Adele has her hand raised.
Oh, there you go.
Is it through Adele? Do you have a question or comment?
Yes, I do. Thank you. Carrie, wow, what an amazing presentation. I learned so much, so many new things about you, and you're just you're you're amazing, period.
Ditto, girl. Ditto. Ditto.
uh, so I guess my question would be
I'm blessed to have met you.
how is it, because beat groups come and go, so what is it that is so different? How would you say to people, like, what is it that is so different about our group that it's just continued over all of these years?
I don't know. That's a great question. I have thought about that. Like, everybody kind of died off after 2020. I think it might be consistency that it took us a while. If you remember, we didn't really have a night picked out originally. We finally landed on Wednesdays because most people don't have kids sports on Wednesdays. And I think just that we do it. We do it no matter what. I just hop on no matter what. There's been a couple of times when we had to have somebody else host, maybe two or three. I remember one time there was a basketball game I couldn't miss. In 2021, there was a basketball game, and I remember some people were mad I was going out to basketball because of the pandemic, and I was like, "Yo, it's Lodge Grass, I gotta go." So, I think that could have been that could be it. I don't know, because we just do it no matter what. Yeah, yeah, we Crystal saying a tornado for someone, and then you joining live from an art market too. Yeah, we've had it, and we just do it no matter what. I've done it in my car. I know when I was driving to my daughter's graduation at Yale last year, I did almost the whole time in my car on the I-94, I think, because I was still on the road. We just kind of make it happen. I had some dental work done, and I think Awana Gijik had to start off. Occasionally, someone will have to start off for me. There'll be a family thing, and then I hop on. But that's probably consistency.
Well, thank you for being the instigation and inspiration for all of us in the group.
everything you've done for us too, Adele. I was gonna say, I feel like we have like professional artists, like people who went to art school or college educated people in our group, and they have like another effect on us. Like, um, so we have Celicia, we have a Wanagijic, we have a new gal, Hattie. She's been on for like the last year, um, who went to art school, and they have a whole different Monica, I feel like, is more like more professional. And so that rubs off on us too. 'Cause I did not go to I went to college a little bit, but I'm not a schoolgirl. I worked in retail, I worked at a bank, I was a reporter for a long time. I'm kind of just mostly a mom. So we're just busting it.
I didn't go to art school. My answer is always just like, just send it. It's the worst that can happen. They tell you no, you're already not in it. Just go.
I mean, if I got into art school, I would never complete it. So
Yeah.
We did have a speaker come and talk to us about ADD issues. I don't know if you remember that. And we had someone come and talk to us about something about focus or whatever. I don't know, but like it is true, like as artists, as a group, we are a little bit of a mess. So it's handy to have when I start to notice people repeating the same thing, I'll be like, to my daughter-in-law, can you come on? And she'll get a little PowerPoint together and come and hook it up. So it helps. She came and talked about trauma one night, and I think it really helped me. I was like, wow, I didn't know all this stuff.
Yeah.
I think Carrie, we had a question that came in when somebody signed up for this presentation, and Danny was going to share it with us here. She's just pulling it up.
Here, the volume.
Yeah,
Okay.
she can speak through here. Sorry, we're working through the technology. Speaking of which.
Oh.
Okay. Yeah.
Sorry, so you want me sorry. So the question was, they were wanting to just for you to share your perspective on the significance of your work in the context of its relationship to nature, the land, and stewardship.
Actually, it is really important to me, and that's one of the reasons I really work in upcycled fashion. It's not just the way I was raised, which was of an economic concern, but additionally, I think fast fashion is really a problem for us. As Americans, we've gotten real used to just ordering from Shein or wherever, and I just think it's wasteful. I mean, a lot of it's economic. I'm not gonna lie. I'm a girl who wants to save $1 and I want to find it at the secondhand store. But I really do believe that we need to slow down on our consumerism. I think it is important that we stop and, do we need another t-shirt? Do we need another dress? Maybe we can change this dress up, or maybe we can take it to the secondhand and trade up for something different, or meet a friend or something. As far as nature goes, if you follow me on Instagram, you'll see I'm obsessed. I would not call myself an outdoors girl, but I do need to be outside every day. I'm on 40 acres here, and I love to be outside with my the kitty cats and the cows and the chickens. And I'm very connected to the animals and very connected to being outside. It's a big deal to me. I always tell people when they'll say, I don't feel good, I got a headache. I'm like, oh my God, go outside. You'll feel better. Like, I think you need some outside time. You'll feel better. There's a Little Shell poet, Chris Latreille, and he was challenging everyone to spend 100, what did he say, 100 hours a month or 100 hours? What did he say? I don't know, a lot of time outside. And he talked about how it transformed his work. And it does for me when I'm thinking about beading patterns or colors. I really do look around me, and it does inspire me. I think, you know, we're so connected, even like we were talking about the dogs, we're so connected to our dogs. And I grew up with my grandfather was just so, and my grandma both, were so obsessed with their little dogs. And thinking back about that, that was my grandfather's, you know, from what he grew up with the horses and dogs. And I grew up with, you know, horses and cows and everything. So it's just important to us. We were talking about last night how the Apsalaga believe that the only thing that have souls are people, horses, and dogs. And if you think about that in your daily life, you're kind of like, yeah, it might be true. How and so my life is obviously affected by Apsalaga ways. I've been here more than 30 years. So the horses are really important to me too. That I watch them and I see what they do. Right now I'm obsessed with the new calves. So watch my Instagram if you want to see pics.
Carrie, how do we find you on Instagram? What's your handle?
So it's Plain Soul, PLAINSSOUL. And same on Facebook and TikTok. I'm not a great TikTok poster. Maybe I will be someday when I grow up, but I'm pretty constant on my stories and my posts.
Awesome. We have just 2 minutes remaining. Are there any burning questions or comments for Carrie that we want to make sure to get in before we sign out today? I know there's so much more we could get into today. I'm so interested in the dog blankets and the kind of historical pieces with that. And I love that that it's exhibiting right now. That's just so wonderful.
Yeah. So if you are, if interested in bead night, hop on my Instagram or Facebook. If you're not on social media, could we go back to slide number, I believe it's 3, Danny?
Okay.
You have it.
I think I'm able to share my screen.
If not, I can tell you, if you have a pen, the Zoom number is 824-8582-8681.
And if you want, sorry, I just zoomed away. If you want, Carrie, we could send that to the group, everyone who's registered. If you want, we could send your Instagram account and the Zoom number so everybody can get that in their inbox, easy to find.
Yeah. And then the passcode is beaded love. I was trying to remember, Crystal, what was the funny moose passcode? Crystal will remember.
I don't remember, honestly. It's
some joke though. What was it, moose?
like only thing I can think of is moose knuckle, but I'm not sure.
It was funny. It was like moose salami or something, but we really threw people off, so we moved. I always say, I'll say, oh, this is like beaded love, sending some beaded love. So
yeah, it was kind of funny because you're like, what is it gonna be this week? But yeah, it is nice to have the same one because then you're like, I don't have to remember.
Yeah, it's easier for everyone. So I kind of changed that up, but it was really an honor to be asked to participate, and I want to thank Monica specifically because she asked me, and thank you very much. It's just been a lovely experience, and I appreciate seeing all the support and grateful for all the support from my bead nighters here.
Yeah, thanks, Carrie. Thank you for being here today, and thanks everyone for joining us. We'll look forward to staying in touch and stay tuned with Open Air for our next Indigenous Art, Indigenous Minds presentation. So have a wonderful spring day out there.
Thank you.